I was dating someone at the time, and as a good boyfriend, he wanted to help me with a problem I was struggling with, which was procrastinating on writing my PhD thesis. I was in grad school at the time trying to finish an engineering PhD, and I was really struggling with sitting down and writing. And I tried a lot of different things, and the thing that seemed to work best was this approach he came up with of locking me in Airbnb for 2 weeks, and I got to whitelist a list of visitors in advance. So there were maybe about 8 people on this list who had approval by me to stop by at any time that I would not have warning about when they would come by, and they could come over for whatever they wanted to. They could come, make me watch football. They could come fuck me. They could make me dinner. It was definitely a sex kink thing, but it was also a community thing as well, of the community showing up to support me in getting my writing done and checking in on me.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 441. We're Finn and Emma, and today we get to have a lovely chat with Pandora and Chesed as they share about their explorations in polyamory, dating, kink, play parties, and so much more. They've been sex friends since 2023 and like to use the term otter partners to describe their playful, cuddly connection. That really comes through in the interview today, as you'll see. Throughout our conversation, you really get a feel for how playful they are in general and how they sort of seamlessly blend their adventurous spirits into their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, this is a super fun chat, and Pandora and Chesed are really nerdy about sex, and it's so much fun to talk with them about how they plan events and how they've made some pretty wild dreams come true. They dig into what's called the Pandora's box story.
Yes.
We tease it for a while, but we eventually get there.
We do.
And we even get to talk about a few things that we really haven't dug into on the show before, like CNC, or consensual non-consent. And if you stick around for the bonus episode, you get to hear me have my mind blown, and Pandora drops what is probably one of my favorite pieces of sex and relationship advice, or not really advice, but a strategy, a hack that's just fantastic. So you are definitely going to want to stick around for that.
Pandora and Chesed also do some incredible work. Since 2025, they've been collaborators at SlutStack, a blog and podcast for overthinking sex and relationships, and they might even share a story or two.
Definitely go check it out. Their podcast is super fun to listen to.
Yes. They also co-organized the first SlutCon in 2025 with Ayla. SlutCon is a multi-day sexuality education conference and celebration of sluthood that they talk a bit more about later in the interview.
You can find links to everything that Emma just mentioned in all of Pandora and Chesed's work over in the podcast show notes linked on our website at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. And one other thing that we wanted to tell you all about. During this conversation, Chesed was 55 weeks pregnant or something like that.
Not cool. That's a little extreme.
Just about ready to have a baby, and has since had their baby. And you can find out all of the information, or not information. You can learn more about that and the whole story around it over on the SlutStack. There's a blog post about it that is really incredible. So definitely go check that out. And congratulations, Chesed, and your husband for having your child. And I know I teased a few minutes ago about the bonus episode, but today's is pretty spicy and a ton of fun, and we highly, highly recommend checking it out. If you're not familiar with our premium subscription. Our premium subscribers get ad-free podcast episodes, plus a new 10 to 15-minute bonus episode every single week where our guests answer some fun, extra questions and give us a little bit of an opportunity to get to know them even deeper than we normally do during our regular interview. To sign up for the premium subscription, head on over to our website, again at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Scroll down on the homepage and you'll find all of the information to sign up there for just a couple of bucks a month.
And now, for all of our premium subscribers, we're going to jump right into the interview. And for everyone else, we do have a couple of quick announcements today. First up, we wanted to remind all of you about our community. We lead a community of over 300 people socializing and supporting one another every single day. We host the community on a platform called Mighty Networks. We have monthly community support Zoom calls, monthly virtual workshops, and in-person events, all for less than $10 a month.
Our next monthly workshop is coming up on May 27th, and you can find out all of the information about that workshop and all of our previous workshops and our upcoming workshops over under the Workshops tab of our website. And a quick reminder that anybody who is in our community not only gets access to the monthly workshop as it's happening, but you also get access to recordings of all of our previous workshops. So there are almost 20 workshops at this point that you can check out and have access to. So definitely want to go and check that out. Again, the Workshops tab of our website has all of that information. Go check it out.
Also, applying for the community only takes a couple of minutes, and you can find all of the information over on the community tab of our website.
And the almost last thing we want to tell you all about is our favorite way to get tested for STIs. That is, of course, stdcheck.com. We have been telling you about this service for years because we absolutely love it. This is the way that Emma and I get tested, and we highly recommend you check it out as well. It is fast, it's easy, it's discreet, and when you use the links over under the resources tab of our website, you save $10, which makes the cost of a 10-panel test only $129. And using those links also helps support the podcast. So thank you in advance for doing that and for helping us continue to bring you this podcast for free every single week.
And finally, we wanted to remind all of you, go over to the Contact Us page of our website. Reach out to us if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast. We would love to have you come join. Just let us know. And we also would love to hear from you if you have any questions or comments or feedback for us as well.
But mainly, we want you to come on the podcast.
Yes.
And with that, we're going to jump right into this fantastic conversation with Pandora and Chesed.
Let's go.
Welcome to the podcast. We're excited to chat today, Pandora and Chesed. We've gone back and forth on email, but we don't know much about you two. So, we've listened to a little bit of your podcast as well, but we're excited to chat today and get to know you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Finn and Emma. I'm Pandora.
I'm Chesed.
So we also have a podcast. It is called the SlutStack Pod, and also a blog under the same name. And we're excited to sort of share how we know each other and some of our journey into non-monogamy. We really love the mission of normalizing non-monogamy. So we're just super excited to be on and chatting about that.
Yeah. We're so excited to have you both here as well, and to hear about your individual stories and your I want to say collaboration, but also like your relationship with each other as well. How about we start with just introducing yourselves?
I'm Pandora. I guess the relevant things are that I've been non-monogamous in some form for probably about a decade now. Most recently, that's looked like full-on kitchen table poly, living with multiple partners, and sort of being in a pretty tight-knit polycule. But at the beginning, it looked like being in a monogamous relationship and deciding mutually to open that relationship. So it's kind of taken many forms, and I feel like I've taken a lot of steps along the spectrum of non-monogamy. So I'm always interested in getting to chat about different forms of non-monogamy, and I never really thought at the beginning that I would end up, with a podcast or blog that was about all of this. But it seems, yeah. So I don't really necessarily identify as a poly educator or any of that. It just sort of gradually happened of having a Twitter and sharing takes and finding people were engaging with that and they were asking questions, and then it just sort of organically grew out of that. And it's been really fun because we have our friendship and our overlapping relationship spheres, Chesed and I, and the podcast is a great way for us to have time to chat with each other together as friends and catch up. And so, yeah, it's been a really, really interesting journey to get from growing up as a, Catholic girl in a Catholic traditional family on the East Coast, and then doing the whole traditional pathway through college and grad school and everything, and then having this alter ego as as the secret slut. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's amazing, right? You talked about you're not some officially trained educator in, the sex positive spaces here, but I think there's just so much power in us talking openly and honestly about our stories and our experiences, because that is so much of what we learn from each other. And I just think there's a ton of value in that. So I'm just grateful you too for the work you do and again for being here today. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Hessa, how about you?
Hi, I'm Chesed. Let's see. My day job, I work in healthcare. The rest of my life, I am married. I'm quite pregnant. I'm 38 weeks and change right now. So soon to be a mom.
There may be a delivery mid-podcast.
Yeah,
that would be great.
That would be our first on-air delivery. So yeah.
I would love to have a labor so fast and smooth. But yes. So yeah, I work in healthcare. I am married. And I am born and raised in the Bay Area. So I actually kind of come from not quite the opposite background as you, but more or less. I was raised in a very progressive circles. I feel like my mom told me about the concept of a triad for the first time when we were watching Vicky Cristina Barcelona together when I was a teen. She's like, oh yeah, I know people who did that. That's a thing. And my husband and I actually met when we were quite young. I was 14, he was 17. We were not dating at that time. We didn't date for another 4 years maybe, but we grew up in a pretty progressive religious community actually, and we never had a monogamous relationship. And in fact, I have only been in 1 or 2 monogamous relationships in my life, and I think they were in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at him for confirmation. Yeah, I haven't been in a monogamous relationship as an adult, but I was in 1 or 2 in high school. And so yeah, I think I don't tend to identify with poly specifically, although maybe that is inaccurate.
Some people would argue.
Some people would argue that I am, but I think I'm just kind of well, I'm just doing my life, and that hasn't involved a ton of monogamy.
Yep.
I think that a lot of aspects of my life feel kind of trad, the part where I'm married and having a baby with my own husband.
Yep. Very trad.
It is very trad.
While living with other...
I'm not living with other partners. I've had sex with my housemates, but not frequently. I do live in a kind of cool co-living setup. There's 3 couples. One of the other couples has already had a baby. They had a baby in October. And we are all planning to raise our children together. And then one of the other couples is child-free, but also wants to live with us and hang out and raise the kids. And we are all planning to continue living together in this setup for the foreseeable future, which is, again, it's not super sexual, but it has some poly vibes, I guess.
It's about the vibe of it. We've heard that before with these co-living situations. It's, there's a vibe.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'm curious for both of you, just talking a little bit about what was your initial draw to non-monogamy to get you going, right? And it sounds like, Chesed, for you, there was maybe some vague remembering of monogamy back in your high school, but what brought you into it initially, more formally, I suppose?
I still don't know if I'm formally involved in non-monogamy.
Your membership card hasn't come in the mail yet?
It has not. I think I haven't felt particularly called to monogamy. I think that I have felt very called to other specific forms of commitment, very early on in my relationship with my husband, I was like, I want to get married. I want to have babies. If you're not willing to get married and have babies, we have to break up as soon as you know that, because I need to find somebody else to get married and have babies with. So very into commitment. But I think I have been lucky to feel like relatively low sexual jealousy. And so without that coming up, and with the desire to have sex with other people, I think the non-monogamy kind of naturally flowed. And I've maybe become slightly more aware of official non-monogamy concepts and structures and stuff in the last few years, as I've made more friends in our kind of orgy community, as Pandora introduces me to terms.
As I write blog posts.
Yeah, Pandora is are we garden party poly or kitchen table poly? And I'm I don't know. But yeah.
No, I love that, because I just want to say, we had a couple on a while ago that they were probably at least double your age, if not a few years older than that. And they'd been being non-monogamous, again, without any words, any framing for it. It was just how they lived for years and years and years. I mean, decades at the point when we talked to them. And it was just really heartwarming to hear that it wasn't about some super intentional thing. It was, this is what feels good to us, and we just were able to navigate it together. It was sort of a natural evolution of who they were, without having to know the words compersion and all of the buzzwords to make it a thing. It doesn't necessarily require all the formalities.
Yeah. I think I had a pretty different experience because I was the type of person who heard the term open relationship while I was studying abroad from a friend. She was like, I'm in an open relationship with my boyfriend, and I sleep with other people. And I was like, hold up, that's a thing? You can do that? And I think from there it was sort of just planted a seed in my brain, and I started reading, and I read through a lot of poly literature available at the time, and thought about it for a while. And at the time, I was in a learning community in my undergrad that was organized around philosophy, and they would have seminars on the philosophy of love and stuff. And so I was trying to through that lens sort through all of this, how I felt about it. And it was hard because I think a lot of people I respected and looked up to were pretty negative on non-monogamy and were pretty pro-monogamy. But I continued kind of having that sort of seed planted in me, and just it grew kind of its own accord. And it was a very considered process, but in the end I was I need to experiment with this. I need to see what it's like for myself. And so I did that. Sort of the first step was being in a relationship that was about to be long distance, and asking if we could try an open relationship.
So you brought it up to your partner at the time?
Yeah, I did.
And did you give it a try?
Yeah, we did. We did open the relationship, and I think that he originally was like, "Are you sure?" I think he kind of conceived of it as this thing, the stereotype of maybe this is good for men somehow, or a thing men want, and not a thing that's good for women or a thing women want. Yeah. And so he was trying to just really check with me, you're sure you're going to be okay with that? And I think in the end it was actually probably better for me than for him. I think that he found it harder to connect with other people outside of the relationship. Sort of dispositionally, and then I found it easier and was kind of enjoying that. And so I think we were ultimately on different trajectories where he was down to try it, and I was as soon as I got that taste, I was oh, I think I want more. So that started the gradient into full on polyamory of okay, now that I've had other friends with benefits, I don't see why I would artificially constrain those other relationships. Maybe I am actually poly. And then I was trying out parallel poly and then kitchen table poly.
Yeah. Well, and you had no background whatsoever, no exposure at all to these types of alternative relationships of any sort.
Yeah,
so it makes sense in many ways that you had to go step by step by step.
Yeah, I think I was 20 at the time when I first it first occurred to me that this was possible.
And it sounds like the hook, it was just like you were hooked on. It was like, this makes more sense. It sounds like for both of you, this just feels very much like your natural way of relating.
Yeah, I do. It does feel very like a orientation in for me, in the sense that like when I look back on how I was in like middle school, I would always have crushes on like 5 guys at the same time when my friends would like have one. And like when I told my siblings that like, oh, like I'm poly, they were like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that sort of checks out. Like it wasn't like this huge surprise to them.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how did you two meet? Or when did the Pandora Chesed team come together? And also maybe like what is your current, how do you two relate to one another besides hosting a podcast together?
Yes. Okay, let's see. So I think that the way we first heard about each other was that I went on a few dates with one of her current boyfriends, who you were also dating at the time. And he like invited me to a small orgy that she was supposed to be at. And I think also maybe suggested like potentially we should do a threesome.
Yeah.
But she ended up being sick at that orgy. So I didn't meet her.
Yes.
We ended up meeting for the first time at a Red Means No orgy, your first one, which is like a specific type of CNC orgy organized by Ayla and crew. And at that orgy, I thought that I had already met you. I don't know, at a previous orgy or something. So I feel like I like bounced right up to you and you're like, oh, you're partners with so-and-so and blah, 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 blah. So good to see you again. And you're like, who are you? But
it was good to meet you in person, because I remember when my partner had like shown me pictures of you and was like, oh, like should we like try to organize a threesome or something? And like Chesed's very like small, and like to me she looked like she was 15 years old, and I was like, I don't know actually, like. And then once I met her in person, I was like, I see her as like an adult and like a real person.
It's important. That's important to know.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. And so then I don't know exactly the trajectory of how we got to know each other better and became closer. Partially, like, we just kept going to the same orgies.
Yeah.
And we also had, like, let's see, we both had a negative experience with one person, the same person.
At one of the orgies.
At that same orgy, actually. So we bonded a little bit about that.
Tess shared a hotel room with us once.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
We went to an orgy in New York and we shared a hotel room. I don't know. So we bonded over the next...
there were various opportunities. And, so my partner hosts some small play parties.
Yeah.
You guys...
that we attended.
and your husband came to some of those.
A natural trajectory. Oh, and then there was like several months where I was trying to have sex with her and she didn't realize.
We might have gone on a hike or something.
We went on like several hikes.
Yeah, we went on some hikes. Like, I'm apparently not that smart, which is why I also go by Dr. Bimbo on Twitter sometimes.
This is also like not me in my most natural element.
Yeah.
Like I don't tend to like independently date women. I tend to like go to their partners and be like, hello, can I have sex with your girlfriend, and also can you arrange it for me? So
a good strategy.
There was like a spring where I was doing that, but like with like all of your partners. Yeah. Not all of them, but like 3. Like I was dating a lot, in part because I was thinking like, I think I'm going to start trying to conceive in the next like 6 months to a year. And I want to like have some fun, get some stuff out of my system. So I went from being like, like I'm married, I occasionally go to orgies. I like was not dating a ton, or doing that much outside of that, to suddenly like I was doing so much dating. I was doing an insane amount of dating. And part of it was I was like, okay, so let's see, like Pandora is dating these 3 people. I'm going to go on dates with these 3 people and we'll see if we get things set up that way. I don't know if any of them came through. I think we had our first threesome a while after that.
I think so. Our first threesome was not the one we had with my partner, was it?
Was it?
As
That
a
was a nice
reward
one.
for the
That was a really nice
blog
one.
post he wrote us.
I think
I
probably
just want to note the fun here of just watching you two try to figure out which one of the threesomes was your first. And I was like, I don't know. There's so many. There's so many to pick
I
from.
think that probably our first actual was probably at an orgy would be my guess.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
sure.
probably we had some interactions at an orgy. I was just like thinking back on like the different people who all promised me that we would have a threesome. And,
Yeah.
like none of them came through. But yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't like characterize it as like, oh, that like we have dated, but then again, you were the only woman invited to Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And the rest were all my boyfriends.
I think I would
It's
say that
like-
we have not dated.
Yes.
And that's not
It's
like the primary part of our relationship. But we've had sex with each other more than we have had sex with most other women recently.
Probably, yeah. But
No, actually,
always
no.
in the context of group sex.
Always in the context of group sex. Yeah, we don't have like an ongoing one-on-one sexual relationship. Also, my guess would be that you're having more sex now with your polycule.
It's been like a weird time in the past couple months,
Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for all the inside baseball. We're just
No, well,
so I would
it
say
gives us a peek inside.
yeah, and I think what it shows is, it really to me reinforces a bit of what you two talked about early on in your story. Is like, it just seems very much like a natural part of your lives. That your life sort of, I wouldn't even say they revolve around this. It just is so integrated in to your friend groups, to your community, to your friendship, to your work. And I think it's really amazing to like hear you two talk through it in the way you are. So I appreciate it.
so yeah, I would say
Sex friends and collaborators.
exactly. I would say that we're like primarily we're friends. We're also collaborators.
You sometimes have fun at orgies together.
And we share a lot of overlapping
And we do have
relationship
overlapping
network.
partners.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
metamorphs, I guess
Yeah.
you could
Metamorphs,
say.
yeah.
It doesn't feel like a
But
primary
it doesn't
thing.
feel like it's that
Yeah.
core to it. Yeah.
Well, partially because neither of us we don't share primary partners.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway. So, okay. At some point about a year ago, because our podcast and blog are about a year old, I wanted to do something to distract me from being obsessed with trying to get pregnant. And so I was thinking about blogging, and I approached you about blogging together, and you were like, I've actually been wanting to blog, and I just like maybe wanted a partner.
Yeah.
And so then we found out that the domain sluts.substack.com was available, and then we created the SlutStack from there.
Yeah. And I think that was inspired by, in a threesome, stacking sluts as a funny concept that we hadn't actually achieved yet until after.
No, yeah, we didn't achieve our first SlutStack until way after creating the SlutStack. But yeah.
The official position.
Yes. It's totally doable. So that has been like a fun creative outlet for us. I think, also in part fed in by the fact that we both at that point were on Twitter under pseudonyms and had been kind of like playing around with the fun of like posting about sex and relationships and
kink
and stuff. Yeah, we were both involved a little bit in Ayla threw a birthday gangbang that went kind of Twitter viral.
Well, her boyfriend threw a
Twitter gangbang. Yeah. And you helped organize that.
I did help screen some people. I wasn't really core involved, but I was backing up
some people.
them.
I was attending as a fluffer. And so that also was like a bunch of like just silly internet-ness that also I think put us into the space of like, kind of writing and talking about sex and kink publicly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So I appreciate that, and there's two things you threw out in the last few minutes that I wanted to circle back to, and
we're on the same page.
Well, because I also listened to a couple of your early episodes, and you talked about Pandora's box, and I wanted to talk about that because I think it was actually an amazing concept, and I can imagine the amount of logistics that went into it were incredible. So I want to talk about it. But before we do, you also mentioned the red means no parties and CNC. And so for anybody who didn't know what CNC that is consensual non-consent. So a form of kink or play where, right, in the case of this one, the only way to stop a scene would be by saying red rather than, hey, stop, or please don't do that, right? So the only actual no is the word red. Just
Yes.
you're nodding, but just fact
Yep.
check me on these things.
Yep, you totally got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe just I'm curious, both of you finding your way into that world. Maybe when did you start exploring parties that are sort of, I don't know, a little kinkier than your average party? I've never been to a party like this, and I've been to plenty of, sexy events and sex parties. So I'm curious what took you down this path.
Yeah, so I actually have not been to that many sex parties other than the red means no parties.
Yeah.
I think before then, I'm kind of obligate kinky, I would say, more or less. Like I rarely have sex that has no power dynamic, and if I do, I generally don't enjoy it very much. And so my husband and I had, of course, been playing around with kink and power dynamics for basically since our entire relationship. We had a little bit of group sex here, a little bit of a public play party there, but never had attended parties where we were actually interacting with other people or, doing anything that crazy. I was just browsing Twitter one day and I saw Ayla post an application form for this event. And so I got the conception of what if you had an orgy where there was a safe word, but otherwise you were able to kind of play out these consensual non-consent fantasies. And I was like, well, that sounds incredibly hot. That sounds exactly up my alley. And so I applied, and I didn't know her or anybody involved. And I found out that I was accepted. And then once I was accepted, I was like, hey, can I bring my husband? And then they eventually had room for a guy. And so I brought him. And that was actually the first Red Means No party. And so we went and had a great time. And then we ended up weirdly part of this whole community because we just kept coming to all the parties.
That is a really good way to become part of the community, is to keep showing up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For me, it was through one of my exes. So the same ex that hosted Pandora's Box that we'll talk about a bit later. When I first started dating him, there was a lot that he was introducing me to, but one of the interesting things was that he was an organizer of the Red Means No orgies. And that was the first time I was ever invited to a sex party of any kind. But at the time, I was like, that seems pretty extreme. I actually don't know if I'll like it or not. Let me try some more normal sex parties first. So I went to some bonobos hosted parties with him. Started dipping my toes into having threesomes or foursomes with some of his other partners. And that was all going well. And the kink element of it did naturally appeal to me. But I was also when I started dating him, I was still a little bit wary of kink dynamics because I'd had a previous relationship where I felt like the kink dynamic kept me in the relationship longer than I should have, and that I had sort of a complicated relationship with the power dynamics because of not really trusting myself with that and viewing it as a very scarce thing that mattered a lot to me, but that was rare to find. And so therefore over-indexing it on it in relationships. And I think it just took some more exposure to various people in this community to rewire that conception of it as scarce and view it as something that can be abundant and a thing that you can have more of a healthy relationship with, actually. And so then after some time, I felt ready to give it a try. And then I went to my first one, which was probably the third or so that they hosted overall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chesed, you were at the the first inaugural Red Means No party.
I was, yeah.
Wow. I'm curious. I want to get to the Pandora's Box conversation, but now that we've promised it, we'll just keep people on the hook for a while to get there. Because I'm curious about community for you two, because it's come up a few different times. You both live in community. You talked about the red means no community. Pandora, you just mentioned bonobo. And I'm just curious, like for you two, the role that community has played, like, and even having each other, right? Like you are a tight friend group between the two of you. So just for you two, like the importance of that and what that sort of looked like for you two as you've navigated and explored all these different relationship types and styles.
Yeah, it feels like super salient to me, the difference between having community and not having that, because when I started out, I knew one study abroad friend who was in an open relationship, and then we didn't really like stay in contact after that. And then I had no one. Like I was navigating the early stages just pretty much on my own. And I was like, looking for this in dating, but I wasn't naturally seeking it out in a community sense. And I think that's partially just because of like not really seeing the value, not really knowing where to find it. I'm not sure exactly why, but and I think there maybe is just like less available communities depending on where you are geographically and all of that.
Totally.
So it was a lot easier to stumble into having that once I started moving to the West Coast and being, in the Bay Area. And now that I have that, it's really hard to imagine going back. It feels sort of like, the golden era of my poly journey. It was like once that part was unlocked and I got to be able to like meet metamors and have friendships with metamors and, have my partners meet each other and have like all the possibilities unlocked by that. So it's brought a ton of value to my life. And I kind of, hindsight, right? But like, I kind of wish I knew sooner to try to like seek that out. And I think having the conversations that are enabled by like having a podcast or a blog and like that building that sort of like larger layer of community of like kind of what you guys are doing is also like really cool because it's one thing to have monogamous friends who care and are supportive and like want the best for you, and it's a different thing to have people who really get it that you can talk to about whatever you're going through.
Totally. Well, I mean, it just, even like you mentioned a few minutes ago, you both sort of bonded over a bad experience you had at a party, right? And I feel like, just like to me, that's one of those moments that people don't really think about. But when you have something that doesn't feel good, maybe it's a partner that's doing something, or you've just gone out on a date and you're like, I don't know, this didn't feel right. And you're like, but you can go talk to all of your housemates and be like, hey, brain trust, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And right, you're not in it by yourself wondering, but at the red means no party, you can both be like, yeah, this happened to me too. That didn't feel good. And then that actually can help take care of the greater community, because now you two can take that to whoever needs to know. Right. And so I appreciate you sharing, Pandora. Yeah. How about for you, Hesed?
Yeah. I think I have been on like a pro communities trajectory or something. I met my husband. I met my husband actually in the context of a very like sweet, tight knit kind of like progressive religious community. And then I found myself after college. I had a very intense and very isolating job. I was a consultant and traveled for work a lot, and I had like barely enough time to see my closest loved ones, let alone like form like broader friends community or anything. I was pretty sad and isolated. I would be in town for a few days and like get to see, one partner or my mom, and like that was it. And so I purposely tried to reorient my life away from that. I made a large career shift. And as part of that, I found myself with time to be able to devote to community, like broadly, like spending more time with my family, more time with my husband, more time with our friends, and then also like building community. Because if you're around, you can go to events and you can have people over to your house and you can do all of these things that form like a really rich and meaningful life. And so when I started thinking about building a family, it was really important to me to be able to do that in some kind of community beyond like husband and I in a house by ourselves. So that's like one aspect. And then, yeah, I don't know. I want to be around people, as you like both of us. We both live in group houses and like to host events and just, yeah.
Yeah, that is one thing I want to note about community is like one of the best ways to have community is to put in the legwork to inviting people to things and hosting events.
Yeah.
And like we both do that.
Yeah.
Like we are involved in co-creating the community and also lucky enough to be invited to other things by other people that other people put in a lot of legwork in.
Yes.
Like there was so much work that went into thinking through the Red Means No parties that allowed us to meet, for example. And
and kind of spawns community that now is sustained beyond that. Like I like had a baby shower and like so many people who came to the baby shower were orgy friends. It's like the friendships eventually extends beyond the like specific activity and they're just part of your life.
Yeah, I love that. And it's also a testament to show like how much time those connections can take to really flourish as well. Like it takes time and investment over
years.
A long period of time.
Yeah, a long period of time. Years.
Yeah, like you said. Well, and I think too, there's a lot, no secret to anyone who's listened to the show for a long time, there's so many different ways to do relationships. And I think when you were kind of talking about a little bit about like the ambiguity, even with you two, where you're like, well, yeah, I mean, are we dating kind of, but we're sex friends, but we do this. And I think when you start, I almost feel like being in a community relationship where you're like, oh, yeah, I go to these parties and is this person like a partner? Well, I don't know. I see them a couple times a month and we hook up some of the time, but sometimes we don't. Maybe we've gone out to dinner, but then they came to my baby shower and like the relationships don't fit in like any box. And and I don't know. It's really heartwarming to hear you two talk about almost like the community relationship being what is the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah, I don't give most of my friends like forehead kisses when I see them at parties, but it's like, it's nice that it's just custom to what works in a giving connection.
Yeah. Cool. Pandora's box.
I suppose we've make them wait long enough. So I would love to however you feel best to tell the Pandora's box story, and maybe along the way we can pick at pieces about it because there are curiosities in here. So
for people who want the full story and not the abridged version, I've written 2 blog posts about this. So you can also find it on the SlutStack blog. But I was dating someone at the time, and as a good boyfriend, he wanted to help me with a problem I was struggling with, which was procrastinating on writing my PhD thesis. I was in grad school at the time trying to finish a engineering PhD, and I was really struggling with like sitting down and writing. And I tried a lot of different things, and the thing that seemed to work best was this approach he came up with of locking me in Airbnb for 2 weeks, and I got to whitelist a list of visitors in advance. So there were maybe about 8 people on this list who had approval by me to stop by at any time that I would not have warning about when they would come by. And they could come over for whatever they wanted to. They could come, make me watch football. They could come fuck me. They could make me dinner. It was definitely like a sex kink thing, but it was also like a community thing as well, of like the community showing up to support me in getting my writing done and checking in on me.
I still think the football thing was so sadistic.
I know.
Like that was just beyond the pale.
Terrible. And
so football wasn't your first choice.
No. Yeah. that was imposed upon me. So I also got hair braids, I think. So that was good. but it was really effective. I did not finish my thesis in the course of those 2 weeks, but I got like back on track of like making significant progress and then like having the momentum to finish it. And then this was also partially filmed, so they put video cameras in the house and also had Furbos, which are the pet cameras that like spin around and follow you. So like the guys in the group chat and Chesed also in the group chat could like log into the Furbo app and like see what I was up to and shoot treats at me. And they could also use the intercom to make little announcements and speak to me and check in on if I was being good. And it was really just quite nice. It all wrapped up with like a celebratory gangbang. And there was, chocolate cake and a lot of sex. And afterwards, I was just like sort of, like it's like a feeling that I had never really felt before, of just feeling like so many people that I loved and cared about had like all come together in that way to support me and like give me something that was actually genuinely quite helpful, as well as being like a fun story. It was, kind of hard to describe that feeling.
Yeah, like the amount of like care and love and planning, the resources that went into all of this is amazing to have a group of friends do that for you. Like I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I'm also just a little curious, like how do you feel it got you back on track? Like if you have any thoughts on like how did that help you get unstuck?
I think the doing of the thing sort of helps to break down some of the aversion of like once I was actually doing it, I realized a lot of the aversion was like overblown in my head, and I was like actually enjoying some of the like writing and parts of the process. And so like proving that to myself, I think was the thing I needed, of like by tying it to something that was genuinely interesting and novel and exciting to me, and showing like, oh, like by putting in like just this 2 weeks of time, you made significant progress, like, and now you have these chapters. It was enough to be like, okay, I see how this is a like finite task that I will get through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could see there was a mountain you could actually summit.
Right.
Infinite,
Right?
yeah.
It felt
infinity,
obscured
yeah.
by clouds before that, for
Right.
sure.
Right. Yeah. Amazing.
And I'm curious, how was it for you to join from the outside?
Oh my gosh, it was very cute. I was very pleased that I was invited, and also that I was in the group chat, because they were very sweet and thoughtful. There was a calendar so that people would not like accidentally double book her, but also there was a lot of thoughts of like, oh no, on this Tuesday, like nobody's scheduled, like she's gonna be sad and alone, like who's gonna show up and make sure that she's entertained and rewarded for doing a good job. So there's lots of like very thoughtful collaboration and thinking just about like what scenes would be good at what times, making sure that like, for example, there wasn't like too painful or intense nights in a row, things like that. It was also so fun to tune into the Furbo, because I could watch her with other people, and like one of the sweetest things was there was one of the people that was whitelisted was somebody that was my partner that at the time you had maybe had sex with once or never one-on-one.
I think
probably never. Yeah. Anyways. So it was essentially like I got to watch their first date, and it was like I knew that like he was interested in her, and I knew that obviously you were like interested in him enough to put him on the list. I knew that they had like compatible kinks, and I had like given him like a kind of like a debrief beforehand of like, here's some suggestions of like things that you're both into and things you'll both like and whatever. And then on the way to work, I like logged into the Furbo, and I got to see, okay, they're on the couch. Okay, wait, they're still on the couch. Good. Like, is this going well? Is this not going well? Okay, his arms around her. It was so fun. I was a little bit concerned because by the time I had to walk out of the furbo and go to work, they were still on the couch. But I was like, they're closer together. I know he's kind of like, he tends to be like a deliberative person.
Yeah,
Takes
yeah,
his time, sets up
yeah.
a scene. So I was like, okay, I really hope this is going to work. And then I got to hear the debrief later. Yes, it did work.
It did work. Yeah.
And now you guys have sex more regularly.
Yeah.
So it all worked out. But that was, it was so fun.
Wow.
Yeah,
I love it. I think it's
love
so
it too.
creative. And
Yeah.
like what a fun, I don't know, I just wanted like what a fun bonding experience for all of you. Like you've all been a part of this
Yeah.
experience together. And like, I don't know, I just think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also, did sort of the same thing back at my partner who did it for me because he also writes and he was trying to write a screenplay. And so we put together that and we also both were involved in that
That
one,
was
which
another
was a
really fun one.
scene. Yeah. So
yeah, the reverse, like the 5-some thing. We made underwear for that had his face on them.
As you do. As you
we
do.
Which is another fun thing. We need to recreate this for another partner.
Yeah.
Because it's funny to me that like
I
he's
need
not
more.
like a core. He's not one of my partners or anything, but the only underwear that I have that has face on it is his face. And I'm like, shit, I feel like I need to do this for.
Gotta
I'm
even it
gonna
out.
need so many
exactly.
underwear
Like,
with
why don't I have
faces.
underwear that has my husband's face on it? Like, what am I doing? But yeah, that was also a very fun time.
I love it. I love the adventures that
Yeah.
you two have had together. And I'm curious a little bit too about switching directions. So sorry if this is jarring,
Yeah.
but you've both talked about some religious past and like being in, it's like quite embedded in religion. I'm just curious, how has it been for you two coming out of that, or maybe not even coming out of it, but like it's still being a part of your life as you explore this side of yourself or these parts of yourselves?
I think our religious pasts were quite different.
Quite different, yeah.
Do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. I think I had more of an experience of sort of exiting religion, but even as you do that, there's a lot of messaging that can be challenging to rewire. And I think I have a relationship with being raised Catholic where I think a lot of the messages are good and then some of them are quite harmful. And so sort of teasing apart that for yourself is a ongoing process. But I think it instilled a lot of shame around sex for me. Like early on in my journey, the being able to orgasm at all was challenging and almost impossible with a partner. And I would have things like, sort of nightmares around my parents finding out that I was having sex, that sort of thing. So it was just required a lot of time and patience to rewire my relationship with sex and sexuality to a healthier place. And I think the other main complaint I have about Catholicism, other than the shame around sex and the sex negativity, was the implication that love should be about sacrifice. I think the messaging is very much Jesus died on the cross for us and made this huge sacrifice, and that's sort of what you should emulate as a healthy model of love. And I think that's super damaging. I think that love is an action verb to me, but it shouldn't be about giving, to the point of losing yourself. It should be mutually reciprocating and beneficial. And so I think, kind of overcoming that was definitely a piece of it. And it was, hard to sort of leave relationships where I felt that sort of love as a sacrifice. I should be willing to kind of, invest everything or not have boundaries or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Give yourself up for somebody else or for others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Thank you for sharing, Pandora.
Yeah. It's not an easy path. Work to do.
Yeah. So I was raised quite actively participating in two separate progressive religious communities, but they were quite progressive. So I think I didn't kind of experience the same trajectory. I was raised doing like some kind of like progressive Judaism, and then also some progressive like kind of like humanist stuff. And again, these were like very important parts of my life. I think I, for a lot of my life, have done like multiple religious activities a week. And I met my husband in the like secular kind of semi-religious community. And still like the people I live with now are largely from that group. I'm still somewhat active in some Jewish stuff. But I mostly have not felt a large conflict between the kind of like religious aspect of my life and the sex aspect of my life. I got my first and best sex education through the Unitarian Universalist Church, which is like quite, quite sex positive, quite open-minded. I'm trying to think. Like there was, I think we got really good education and very good like cultural practices around consent from a fairly early age. Like the first time I was exposed to the concept of a safe word was like way pre-engaging in like sex. It was like at these youth group events for like wrestling context, basically. And we had a community-wide safe word that we practiced. And like used successfully in that context of like, how do you know if like when you're wrestling or fake abducting somebody, like is it a real no, or like do they want to keep playing?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think it's largely like been quite positive for me. And I would like hope that I don't know, that I'm able to raise my children in kind of a similar way and have like similarly like not feeling a conflict between like authentic relating with their sexuality and also like I don't know, like a community focused on spirituality and like
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm curious. I'm leading into this question too. I have of how you two navigate with your friends and family as far as your relationship structure and some of the podcasts and Substack. Are you open about it and how that has gone?
Yeah. So, you might think that someone living with two boyfriends, their parents would know, but that is not, in fact, the case. Most people in my life know. My friends pretty much universally know at least the poly thing. Not all of them know, like the sort of like kink side and sex party side. Just depends on the friends. And then my siblings know, shy of the blog and podcast. They know about my partners. They're very supportive. It helps that neither of them are like straight heteronormative, like they're all on some spectrum of being weirdos like me as well. And then my parents and extended family do not know at this stage, and I would like to probably keep the podcast and blog from them indefinitely. I realize there's some risk in that, like that, you are just putting your voice and stuff out there on the internet, and so if that was a bridge I had to cross, I'm prepared to deal with that. But I don't plan to tell them, and I do plan to tell them about being poly. It's an important enough part of my life and identity. I am hoping to get married to my primary partner at some point soon, and I would like them to know before that. It seems important.
Yeah. Otherwise, there's a lot of unexplainable guests at your wedding.
Exactly.
You all seem to know each other very well.
Have that conversation. Yeah. I would like to not have to hide my other boyfriends at my wedding, for example.
Yeah, totally.
I'm just very excited for you guys. Let's see. So my I think my siblings both know about my relationship structure. It's not something like I talk about a lot, but it's also not something that feels worth hiding at all. And like, if they're around, like they come to my parties, they see people. I'm not really hiding things like that. I think my mom knows that I was non-monogamous. She definitely knows that I was non-monogamous in the past because there was a period after college where I briefly lived with her and I like had different partners over and it was all good. But I don't know if she thinks that my husband and I are monogamous now. It's like, doesn't to me feel super worth talking about. I don't think she'd be super upset by it, but I also like don't know if I would want to answer the full range of questions that would come up. And I generally don't share that many details with about like my sex or romantic life with my dad. So he doesn't know about that. Everybody in my life obviously knows about like my actual like house setup.
Yeah.
And I suspect that for some of the people in my lives that like were around in the 70s, some of them have questions about like, I wonder what exactly is going on in that house. They are welcome to speculate. And then so like most of my friends, similarly, I think like kind of they largely know about most aspects of my life. My coworkers know nothing, absolutely nothing about any aspect of my life. Because I work in a pretty conservative industry. And so I just like prefer to keep things very conservative. And then, my brother actually found independently my Substack and Twitter. Like he was reading a Substack that he liked that happens to like, I think, recommend our Substack and like clicked play on a podcast episode and then heard his sister's voice. So that was an interesting experience for him. We're like pretty close. He's very sweet. So he just texted me and was like, hey, just wanted to let you know, I found about your identity as Chesed and like your Twitter and your podcast and your blog. And I want to respect your privacy. So I'm not going to listen to any more podcast episodes or read more blogs or anything. But I think what you're doing is really cool and I'm proud of you. And it was very sweet. It was right around the time like leading up toward SlutCon, which is an event that Pandora and I helped run last year. And so I was able to talk to him a lot about like just that experience. And it was really nice to be able to share with somebody in my life, like in my family. Like there's this thing that I'm not telling anybody about that I'm devoting so much time and energy to. And it was very sweet to have that conversation with him. And he was fully just like, very, very proud of me, very sweet, very supportive. And also like, don't worry, I'm not going to listen to you talk about your sex life. Yeah. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I love how supportive he was. Like, like you said, the amount of time and energy that goes into putting the work you two do out there is immense. And so to have it be appreciated by somebody you love, like how amazing is that?
Yeah. I'm curious, Pandora, we talked a little bit about like how you live in a polycule kind of setup, and we didn't talk about it at the beginning, so I'm bringing it back at the end here, but I'm curious how that actually looks and runs now.
Yeah.
Because I think people are always so curious, like how does it actually work?
Yeah. Totally. So the origin story here is that I wanted to move in with my primary partner. We'd probably been dating about a year when we started thinking about this. And then my other partner at the time, he kind of was like living by himself in a studio and was starting to think, I kind of want to have more space. I'd like to maybe live in a group house. My partners already knew each other and liked each other at that stage. Like we'd already hung out at parties and, probably had a threesome or something. I honestly don't remember. But yeah, so he was just like, hey, crazy idea, but like, what if we just like all looked for a group house together? And I was like, like seems pretty good from my perspective as the one who gets to live with two 2 boyfriends. So I floated it to my primary partner, and he was excited about the idea right off the bat. Took zero convincing to be like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then we started like thinking about, okay, what's our ideal scale for a group house, that sort of thing. So it was very just like an intentional step-by-step process. I managed the housing search, found us a group house that met our specifications. It's like 5 bedrooms. We have 4 people living there now, and probably we'll have a 5th joining us pretty soon. And yeah, like it's the 4th housemate at this stage is not like directly romantically involved. She's like also poly and has her own boyfriend and other partners over a bunch. My partner has, both my partners have other partners over at the house a bunch. So it just works because everyone is really poly. Like the thing that we are screening for in people living with us is like, just being pretty on the same page about wanting that setup and being okay with the fact that like there might be, small sex events happening, that type of thing in the house. And it's worked really remarkably well. The challenges associated with the house have more been like Bay Area challenges, like discovering mold in the downstairs, and have not been like poly-related challenges at all. Yeah. And
That's
if
amazing.
anything, then you have more people to navigate those challenges together with.
Totally.
It's funny because in my head I was like, you have more than 2 partners there, but it's just because like your 3rd partner visits sometimes, and then he's there, and then one of your partner's girlfriends I feel like is there all the time, and so in my head I'm like, there's 7 of you.
It feels like there's 7 people
feels
who
like
live in the
more,
house,
and
even
I'm
though
like,
officially only 4 bedrooms are.
Yeah, it's also
is
just
great.
a very like sweet and social house. Like you guys host events every Sunday.
Yep, we host wholesome events on Sundays.
Yeah, and you also have hosted a variety of like less wholesome events, which have been fun.
Yeah.
And also sometimes we just go there and co-work. So
yeah.
Cool.
I love it. More community.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm glad we got to chat today, and I think I would love to hear a little bit more what people can expect if they check out your podcast and your blog. And then we have 1 or 2 other questions, and then you've agreed to stick around for some bonus questions for the premium subscribers. So we'll jump into those. But yeah, maybe tell everybody a little bit about the podcast and the SlutStack, and we'll go from there.
yeah, absolutely. So we write about really anything that is interesting to us that is broadly connected to the topics of sex, polyamory, and relationships. Very broadly. Like
Pregnancy posting.
we have been
falls in there.
we have recently been posting more about pregnancy and like family creation.
It's really a kind of weird combo of personal essays, advice, how-tos.
Some of our most popular posts, let's see, there was the Pandora's Box series, and a variety of other kind of like, here's the weird sex thing I did. Like, here's the time that I got kidnapped. And like, let me...
I'm so surprised people are interested in that. That just blows my mind that that's what the internet wants, huh?
Yeah.
So like, there's some of that, like reporting on sex adventures. There's some kind of in-depth erotic how-tos. So we wrote a guide to group sex, like the 10 Commandments of group sex or something, which I'm still proud of.
Your blowjobs post.
Oh, and then the blowjobs post, yeah. Because like that's... We in my community, we're all known for different things.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm known for is blowjobs. And so I wrote a 2-part series on blowjobs, both in terms of like tips for giving good blowjobs, and then also like how my own relationship with blowjobs and how I enjoy them and eroticize them, etc. So that's kind of the type of stuff that we write about. But also like, I wrote about the process of trying to get pregnant and how that was for me emotionally and logistically, things like that. And then for our podcast, we do a combination of answering listener questions, talking about Twitter drama, and having on interesting guests. So yeah, like this morning we recorded another episode in which we talked about the Lindy West polydrama, and we had on one of my partners to talk about I don't know.
Your guys' relationship.
Yeah, our relationship and kind of his unique perspective on dating, as well as a relationship workshop that we had sent him to so he could report back.
Yeah. There's a little bit of investigative journaling at this stage that we're branching into.
Yes. My goal is, because I'm quite pregnant and I might have to do slightly fewer sex adventures in the next 6 months to a year, is to send people out on missions to investigate weird sex and or relationship events and come back to me and report. I want to send somebody to some tantra stuff. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
Well, links to your work are in the show notes so people can find it. And I just want to say, excited to hopefully bring you back on in a year or two and hear how having a child has changed things and shaken things up, because I'm sure it will be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And relatable to many people out there,
very
right?
Much so. Yeah. Well, before we let you go, before we all head over to the premium subscriber side of things, is there anything that we didn't ask about or talk about today that you wanted to make sure to get out into the world?
SlutCon? Do you want to give a little pitch?
Sure,
about
I'll
what
give a little
SlutCon
pitch
is
about
and-
SlutCon. So just to share a little bit about SlutCon, we did this event for the first time last year. It's coming back at the end of September, last weekend in September this year. And it's essentially a 3-day workshop that is partially a celebration of just unashamed sexuality and partially really essentially a bunch of sluts getting together and trying to make men better at sex and better at approaching and interacting with women, based on the belief that largely men and women actually have the same goals or complementary goals, and that by practicing and playing together, we can all improve our experience of each other. So it's a very sweet and wholesome weekend, despite the name. And if you're interested, please check out slutcon.com for more information on buying tickets or also volunteering or presenting or joining in another way.
Perfect.
Awesome. And where is it?
It will be in Berkeley, California. Last weekend in September.
Excellent. We will put links in the show notes to that. And yeah, incredible. It sounds just like a great opportunity to have some fun, but also learn a lot, those practical experience of asking somebody out or offering a proposal and then getting a rejection and feeling that and going through that process over and over, or hearing how did that feel, I think it's great.
Yeah, and it's rare that you get to do that in a totally safe place, where everybody involved has signed up and said, you can try to hit on me in the weirdest way possible and I will not be offended. I will just let you know if it came off weird.
No one's going to get canceled online. Yeah.
Exactly. Nobody gets canceled online. It is just for learning.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, again, thank you both for being here, for sharing a little bit about your background and for all of the work you do. And a quick reminder, listeners, Pandora and Chesed have decided to stick around for some bonus questions. So we're going to jump over there for anybody who's a premium subscriber. And for anyone who's not, we'll say goodbye here unless you go to our homepage and sign up for just $4 a month. And then we'll see you over there. So thank you again for being here.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Pandora and Chesed, for coming on and sharing your story. It was absolutely wonderful to talk with you, and we're excited to send people your way as well.
Yeah, thank you from my side, and thank you for the incredible work you do. A quick reminder to everybody, you can find more information about the SlutStack podcast and blog over under the podcast show notes on our website, linked there. I don't know. I got tongue-tied.
And a reminder that you can go sign up for the premium subscription over on our website on the homepage to listen to the super fun bonus questions that we recorded with them as well.
Yeah, if you've been dragging your feet on joining the premium subscription, it is time to stop dragging them, pick them up, get your ass over there, sign up, because this is a really fun chat. So you do not want to miss it. And then again, we're coming back to you next week, I believe.
Yes, we are, as usual, with our regular interview. And this time, we have some special guests.
This is a new thing we've done.
Yes.
We've never done this before. Well, first of all, we're bringing back our guest from episode 108, Daniel. And if
That was about 6 years ago.
That was almost exactly 6 years ago. And for our astute listeners who have memorized all of our episodes, one of the things we talked about on that episode with Daniel was that we were going to bring him back and have him and his father join us.
Well, it's time.
Guess what we fucking did?
Yes.
We interviewed Daniel and his father, Andy, for an episode I've been calling Dandy in my head.
Confuse everyone.
That's been the working title as I've been editing it. So we highly recommend you come back and check out next week's interview with Daniel and Andy. And until then, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and enjoyed today's episode.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.